Hey everyone, it's Alexandra and I am back today. I know I've been gone for a little while, but now, as I said, I am back. And there is a dedication for this video to my friend Penny, who we take acting classes together, and she's been wanting me to make a new video, so here you go, Penny. We're going to be talking about audition tips today for how to get rid of those audition jitters, how to feel better about your audition, how to do it better. All kinds of stuff like that. I know theater kids know the stress of auditioning and how anxious you get before you do it and how good it usually goes. So without further ado, let's get into Okay, the first thing on our agenda is memorizing your monologue, song, or lines that you have to say during your audition. It will make you not as nervous if you memorize them really well. You can pretty much say them in your sleep because you memorize them really good. If you don't know what you're saying, you're kind of looking off, you're looking around, you're looking at the script, and people will know that you aren't really able to memorize that many lines, and consequently, you won't get as good of a part. I've actually seen this happen to people, and I don't want it to happen to any of you, so just keep that in mind whenever you are auditioning. And that goes along with confidence. You can be a lot more confident and get a better part. You can feel better about the audition as a whole if you have everything memorized, because then you won't be nervous, you won't be trying to think of the next word that you have to say, that kind of thing. And some tips about how I memorize monologues or songs or whatever I need to do is print out the piece of paper, even write it down if you don't have a printer. Write out the lyrics, the words, the lines, anything that you need to write down, and just memorize line by line. Get a feel for the flow of what goes where, especially in a monologue, and then you'll feel a lot more comfortable to do it without a script. The first thing that you want to do is read it over, try to say it out loud with the script before you start memorizing. Then do what I just said. You can even do part whole memorization, which is basically, if your line is the sky is blue, you would say the sky is blue, and that kind of helps you a lot. I learned that from my theater director, and now I want to pass it on to all of you. With a song, you definitely want to get the beat down as well before you start memorizing the lyrics, so you can kind of put a tune to the words. It's a lot easier that way. With a monologue, you're also going to want to perform it for a family, friends, even just record yourself doing it if you don't want to do it in front of people. But I would suggest doing it in front of people just because that really kind of boosts your confidence, and it will allow them to critique you, give you tips, tell you what you might need to do better, tell you what you might need to do differently, and that sort of thing can really, really help you. But along with that, do not memorize so much that you can't adapt. You can't change what you're doing at all, because the director or whoever's casting you, whoever you're auditioning for, I don't know, whoever you're auditioning for can tell you different tips, different things you need to do. They might want you to say it a completely different way, and you won't be able to if you memorize it in a set way. Yes, you want to have all of the words memorized really well, but not a certain way that you're going to say it, so you won't be able to change anything. Don't dress as the part you want to get, because that might convince the director that, oh, this person is too set on being this character. They won't be able to adapt into a different character if I give them a different character. And ultimately, they will probably end up giving you a different character if you're being too pushy and you're just like, I really need this part. It's not good to do that either, because you'll be really let down. You'll feel probably sad if you don't get that part. And you just shouldn't dress as the character. That's pretty much why. And if you do not get that big part that you were looking for, one of the most important things about acting is making your character the best character in the entire show. So even if you're dancer 5 or something, even if your character doesn't even have a name, you can learn the dance steps the best. You can, if you even have singing parts or a line, you can say those singing parts or the line better than anybody else. You can be the most believable, you can have a smile on your face the whole time, you can be the most memorable person, even if you don't have a gigantic part. Or, on the contrary, you could just be really bland, not have any facial expressions, sing very dully, look like you don't want to be there. It's terrible. No one's going to remember you in the show if you do that. The whole goal of acting is basically to make people happy, to show them some entertainment. I just love making people happy in acting and making them smile, making them laugh, sometimes even making them cry if we need to. So you just want to make your character memorable no matter what you get. That's why I suggest not dressing as a character, simply because you're going to get let down. If you don't get the part, you might get the part, I don't know, but I very quickly interrupt this program to point out that many of these tips come from my theater director, Mr. Justin. He is absolutely phenomenal, and I want to thank him for everything he's taught me, for all of the information that he's taught me, and my fellow actors in his class, because I've been taking it for a while. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Justin. Now we can get back to the show. Okay, if you don't have your monologue or whatever memorized, you are probably going to get not as good of a part. That goes along with dressing as the character, simply because, as I said before, I can't stress this enough, that you're not prepared. Let's see what else we have on the agenda. Oh, if you're if you're auditioning online, which is something a lot of us have had to do since the coronavirus happened, you want to make sure you're in a well-lit room. This is a good amount of lighting that I have right here. It's great to have a light right in front of you, directly in front of you, and right next to you. You do not want to be backlit, so you don't want to have a big window behind there, and then they won't be able to see your face because it'll be really shadowed. That's something that I've learned from doing performances and auditioning online. Another thing you can do is bring in a trusty lamp, and 1 second, and have more lighting that way. It's really nice to have a window here and in front of you so that you have light from all sides. If you don't have light from this side, that's completely fine. You don't need to be lit everywhere. It is just nice to have a lot of light so they can see your face. If they can't see what your face is doing, that's like the whole point of acting, to have your face, your expressions, that kind of thing. Something that can really help with that is to video yourself in the area that you're going to be in whenever you audition, so you can rewatch it and see how your facial expressions look, and see how your lighting looks, see how everything else looks. I'm actually going to turn this off because it's kind of obnoxious for just a YouTube video. And, anyone who has long hair, even if you don't have long hair and your hair could be in your face, don't do this. I hate when people's hair is in their faces, or they have some kind of obnoxious bow or something in their hair. Then it makes it really hard to see what your face is doing, and it kind of distracts from your entire audition, so you want to make sure that you don't do that in an audition or a show. Let's see what else we have here. Make sure your posture is very good. Do not sit down unless you absolutely have to. It applies to the character, or you have an injury and you are unable to stand up at the moment. Those things make it passable. But if you're just sitting down because you didn't feel like standing up for your audition and you're feeling a little bit lazy today, that is not a good reason to sit down. You also don't want to be laying on your bed. That's about the worst thing you could possibly do for an audition. So don't lay on your bed if you're auditioning online. I know that there's also a platform called Backstage, I believe it's called, where you audition online as well. So that's another tip. These tips could go really, these tips could be really, really helpful for you no matter what kind of audition you're doing. Let's go back to the hair for a second. This is fine. You can still see your face. This is fine. This is fine. Just having it on your face is not good. Terrible. No. Do not do that. A platform that I have used many times to audition is called Flipgrid. If you're using Flipgrid, try not to re-audition and retake your video a million times. Even if you just have to video audition, you're not using Flipgrid. That will kind of make it not as good in a way. That sounds really weird because it sounds like it would make it a lot better if you did it over and over, but not necessarily, because if you're doing an audition in person, you're doing it live. It doesn't even have to be in person. If you're just doing it live, you only get one shot. Pretty much you only get one shot. You can't retake it 5 million times to make sure it's perfect, because you'll probably end up getting mad at yourself and your voice might get hoarse if you do it a lot. So I would just recommend going with 1, 2, or 3 takes. I would say 5 at the very, very most. Just try your best to narrow down the amount of takes that you do. Another thing, water is your best friend as an actor. If your voice gets hoarse, anything like that happens, that's the best thing that you can do is drink water or even Gatorade, something, just drink something. Water is the absolute best option though. Let's see what else we have. Oh, yes, this is one of my favorites. I actually learned this from Crystal Joy Brown, who played Eliza in Hamilton on Broadway. She was not the original cast, but she did play Eliza, so that's pretty cool. I will be making a video about some other Broadway stars I have met, such as Jenny Jules, who plays Hermione Granger on Broadway in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Nikki Renee Daniels, who plays Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton, not the original cast, but she did play her, and a few others, so stay tuned to my channel for that. But let's keep moving on with auditions. So, the thing that Crystal Joy Brown taught me, restarting is okay. If you're doing an audition in person or live, and you think you messed up a few words in your monologue, you think you messed up your song, and you had to go back and it doesn't sound good now because your tempo's off and you're just all worried, you're flustered, it's crazy. It's okay to restart. It is not against the law to restart. You don't want to do that 20 million times because that's very annoying to the people who you're auditioning for, but you can restart once or twice. That's completely fine. It makes you more confident in the audition that you presented, and you might get a better part ultimately. I know I've done this once or twice because I've tripped up on a word in the monologue and I don't think it sounds right. I'll just start over and it completely is great, especially if you're flustered and you don't think you sound good, or you're really nervous and your voice when you're singing doesn't sound as great as it usually does. Let's see. If you're having someone accompany you in your singing, or even if you're doing a monologue and they're saying the opposing lines or something, it's totally fine to tell that person playing the piano or whatever to change the tempo. You can tell them, change the tempo, please, can you make this slower, can you make this faster, can you go a half step higher, can you go a half step lower, can you go down, I don't know, an octave, whatever you need to do to make your voice sound the best that it can possibly be. You are allowed to ask those questions of the people around you, and it'll make your audition a lot better. Listen to other people auditioning. If you're in a room full of people and the other people are auditioning, I know I've had this kind of experience before where everyone's sitting in a chair, you go up on the stage, you audition, you sit down, and you listen to the next person. You don't want to be taking out your phone, drawing, messing with the lights, messing with random little things on your desk like a staple remover, taping something, drawing, messing with your camera, laying in bed. Again, I stress this, do not lay in bed for anything with acting. Unless your character wants to lay in bed. I don't know, unless your character lays in bed, then lay in bed. But don't lay in bed if you aren't directed to. Don't be doing anything that's going to distract from that person's act either, because you might not get as good of a part if you can't listen. Another very important part of acting is to listen to everyone else. You will not know exactly what's going on if you don't listen to other people. Simply put, listen. If you aren't listening, then if you aren't listening, wait, let me start over for a second. If you aren't listening, you might not notice that the person who has a line before you might have messed up, they might have forgotten their line, something might have happened, and if you're not listening, you may just say your line and it won't make any sense. I would just recommend really helping that person out and saying, if their line is the sky is blue, then you could say, I wonder what color the sky is today. I know you wouldn't really say that kind of thing, but something like that, along the lines of that. Especially if they ask where a person is, you can say, I wonder where this person is, and then they'll know, oh, this is my line. It's really nice to help people out instead of just reading their line for them. That is not good. Don't read people's lines for them. Try to remind them of what their line is before doing anything like that. Yes. I keep saying, yes. Make sure you are straight in front of the camera, just like I am right now. This is perfect. Make sure you got your light going on. great. I always have this light right here in case I need to audition, in case I need to have better lighting, whatever I need to do. I always have that right there. I think that's where it's pointing on the screen. And you don't want to be standing over here when you audition. You don't want to stand like this. That is not good. You don't want to stand on the other side in that same way. And my least favorite of all is when people do this. It's terrible. Imagine being a director and having to watch people do this all day, having to stare at this all day when they're auditioning. That would not be good. Don't do that. And this is bad too. If you go like that, not good. We don't just want to see your shirt. We want to see your hands, of course, but we want to see your face too, of course. What else can I tell you? You don't want to, I keep saying today. If you go like this, and you go all the way back here, it's gonna start to be hard to hear you. It's going to. And then you can't see you as well. You can't really see your facial expressions as good as you normally would be able to. And I don't even know if you heard most of what I just said. So I'm gonna kind of repeat it a little bit. They might not be able to see you as well from back there as a whole. They might not be able to hear you as well. And they won't know your talent. Even if you're really good, they won't be able to hear you. You definitely want something like this, how I am right now, how you can see my hands, you can see my face. They don't need to see your legs unless you're doing a dance, so only do that for a dancing scene, something like that. They don't need to see your legs when you're singing unless you specifically have to do something with your legs while you're singing. Oh, keep doing that and ah today. Do you guys like that? I don't know. Let's see. Yes, make sure you're in a well-lit area, as I said before. I'll turn that off now because it's kind of obnoxious, as I said. And make sure there's not a lot of noise around you if you're auditioning online. But let's get back to the online thing, because that really applies to being online. Make sure you're in a room with the door closed. It's really nice to have no background sound, no people talking to you. Make sure, actually, let's backtrack a little bit. There won't be people talking to you if you tell them you're doing an audition. If you just stand in front of your computer and start talking, they're going to assume you're talking to someone else, first of all, or they're not going to know what you're doing, and they're going to come in and be like, what are you doing? And then it's going to mess up your audition. So just make sure you tell the people in your household that you're auditioning so that they know to kind of keep a low profile, stay a bit quiet, and not to barge in on you while you're in the middle of saying your monologue. And the last thing is Zoom settings. If you're on Zoom, this is something really important that you need to do. Your own acting class, wherever you go for acting, might have their own Zoom settings that they want you to do, but I'm just going to tell you a few super simple ones that I have to use. Now, the most current version of Zoom at the time that I'm filming this basically has low suppressing persistent background noise, so you want that on low. You don't want it on really high, especially if you're singing, because the backing track will just get flooded out because it'll think it's background noise. So you want that on low. You also want to show the option for turning on original sound. You want that on, so when it's on it says turn off original sound because you have it on. You definitely want that. It's perfect. And there's not a whole lot else that you could really do for the audio settings, but you can check with where you go for acting classes. If you go to some kind of place for classes and it's not just like backstage or something similar to that. Oh, green screens. I would avoid using green screens if you don't have to. And if they're not the greatest green screens, they might kind of make you look blurry, cut out some of your features. I know that in the hands, it gets real weird if you go like this. So just try not to use a green screen or any kind of background. Just something natural and neutral like this is absolutely perfect. You also don't want to be sitting on your floor or something. Just don't sit in general. Something about the microphone that I have is, 1 second. I don't always use this one for auditions, but sometimes I will if it makes my voice sound better. I just have a PNP sound device. That's what it's called on the computer, but it is, I think it's called a toner. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it's a microphone, just a simple microphone that stretches out from behind my computer. There is a cover. Don't use the cover if you get this particular one. It really kind of blurs out your voice, and it's really perfect because it looks professional as well. If you want something a little more, I don't know, just a little better with the audio, then this is a great option. I also have a webcam instead of just my computer camera. The webcam works a lot better. It makes my lighting look better, that kind of thing. So that's a more technical approach. You don't have to do either of those things with the microphone or the camera, but they are helpful tips if you're looking for something a little extra. This video is now coming to an end. We are going to conclude this video by telling you to please subscribe, like, share, comment, and click that bell for all notifications when I post new videos. One more thing before we end, because I know some people already left by now, so we're going to tell the people who are still here, you're my favorites, something really important. You need to know improv before you go to an audition or do acting. I don't know why I'm doing this, but for some reason I am. We're going to stop that now. Okay, that was improv right there. You didn't even know. That was improv, okay? You need to know how to do improv because if you mess up your monologue or your song, you have to keep it flowing. You don't just want to stop like that if you don't know what to say next. That's not good. You don't want to make your face completely flat either. If you forget a line, I would just be something like this. If your character is upset or confused, just kind of look around and being upset, but don't look at your script if you don't absolutely have to. If you have to look at your script, I would just redo the tape if you're doing a video, but if you're in person, I would actually just restart your audition. And that's about it. Improv is super important. That's what we're going to end this video on. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a big thumbs up if any of these tips helped you, and you can give me some of your own in the comments section below. You can subscribe to my channel, Xandra's Everything channel, if you are on Theater and Singing Hub, or you can subscribe to my channel, Theater and Singing Hub, if you're currently watching this on Xandra's Everything channel. See you next time. Bye.